Welcome back to another episode on my channel. We're taking it in a little different direction today. Today, we have a very special episode and a very special guest. Today, I'm pleased to welcome to the show Peter Nieves. Peter Nieves is an IP law attorney, and I'm going to go ahead and read his bio for you. Peter is the owner of Nieves Intellectual Property Law Group. He's an internationally recognized leader in the field of intellectual property. His unique practice focuses on many aspects of IP, both domestically and internationally. Peter is a global IP portfolio manager, a patent and trademark prosecutor, patent litigator, adjunct professor of patent law, business advisor, copyright and trade secret attorney, and his practice includes management of IP portfolios, patent licensing, IP legal opinions, counseling on intellectual property strategies, and IP due diligence in connection with mergers and acquisitions. Peter has an extensive and storied career in these areas of intellectual property law, and he agreed to come on the channel today to talk about one issue in particular, and that is the use of generative AI and the intellectual property considerations around this field of intellectual property, particularly that which is created by artificial intelligence. So with that being said, welcome, Peter, to the show. All right, so welcome, Peter, to the channel. Really happy to have you here. I'm so glad that you were able to take the time. And I want to start just by thanking you. I first met you a couple of weeks ago when I took your 5-day workshop on protecting IP. And since that time, based on what you were able to teach me about IP, I was able to file for my first ever trademark. So I just wanted to start right off the
Really?
game.
I didn't even know that.
Thank you for that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I did.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I definitely appreciate that. So Peter, you've got a workshop coming up. Do you want to just start right off the bat talking about a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for this opportunity to, spend time with you and your people. IP is such a big issue right now. And the big thing with IP is a lot of people don't realize it's a big issue until they find out with something bad that happens. And then they realize, oh my gosh, I lost this, or, oh, I got to cease and desist. Like, what do I do? And so I love that we get this opportunity to make people aware of things. So yeah, on April 24th, we have an incredible workshop that we're going to be doing. The reason why is because a lot of influencers, a lot of people have been asking questions. And those questions are, well, with the use of AI, who actually owns what's created? Are there some kind of legal issues with using what's actually created? What's going to happen with what I actually enter into the bot itself? Like, these are major questions that are paramount to be able to running a company very well and actually utilizing these tools in an efficient manner while being cognizant of the fact that there may be some pitfalls that you don't want to step into. And so how can you maneuver this AI world that we're living in right now successfully? Because you don't want to ignore these tools. These are great tools. Just to be clear, like, we're not trying to say don't use them. We're just trying to say, use the tools in the proper manner. Like, use the car in the right way so you don't hit a telephone pole, right? Use it so you can get from point A to point B without hurting people and without hurting yourself. And that's what we're trying to do.
Very good. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know that AI, generative AI, is controversial right now. I think that's probably the best word for it. Personally, I'm a fan of it. I think that, like anything in its nascent stage where it's just first being born, I think there's definitely a lot to figure out about what it is, about what it isn't, about how to use it responsibly, about the things that it's not acceptable to use it for. And I think that, this is an exciting conversation to have. So I'm all for figuring it out. I'm all for being an early adopter. I think that that's important. And I love that you, as one example, are taking the time and investing the energy to kind of break open the walls, around IP in general, and specifically around this topic, and make sure that, access to these ideas is democratized and everybody has access to understanding at a higher level how they can use these tools and what happens with the IP that comes out of them.
That's such an important issue that you're raising, honestly, because, I mean, Josiah, one of the big issues is to have access to people like, myself. I mean, we bill at $600 an hour. Most people aren't going to hire a lawyer to say, can you explain to me what the AI issues are? That's not going to happen. They're seeking the knowledge, but when they're seeking the knowledge, they're getting a lot of influencers who are phenomenal. I mean, great influencers that are giving lots of great content. But the problem is they're all asking the same questions. What about the legal issues?
Mhm.
And so you're not getting a lot of attorneys that are coming out saying, hey, you know what, let me volunteer my time and teach you guys, right? Well, that's something that I love doing because I love teaching and mentoring. I used to be an adjunct professor at Franklin Pierce Law Center, and and so I enjoy doing this. So it's just something I've had the opportunity to step into and help a lot of people in the in the pathway. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, and we're grateful that you've taken the time to do that. This is the perfect time to ask you to just cover in brief, what is this class about? Who is it for? And what can one expect to get out of it?
Yeah, great question. So number one, this class is for everybody. If you're dealing with AI in any way, shape, or form, or if you run a company where you have a marketing team, guys, you need to be aware of this. A lot of people on your own marketing team are using these tools without you even knowing. All right, look at the recent Samsung case that took place. You had individuals at Samsung who were using a tool without their employers even knowing, resulted in the technology, confidential technology of Samsung going into the public domain, meaning that they can't file patents on that technology. I mean, this is a big deal. So if you own a company, you should be looking into this. If you're dabbling, even if you're dabbling into using these tools like ChatGPT-4, phenomenal technology. I mean, imagine being able to attend an event, getting a transcription, uploading a transcription or a summary of the transcription and say, give me the top 5 bullet points that I should talk about at this next presentation. Boom, within 3 seconds, you have them. I mean, those are the kind of tools that we're talking about here. Phenomenal technology. Well, if you're running a company, if you're trying to do marketing or advertising about your products or services, these tools are going to be used either by you or somebody you're hiring. So you should know, what are the legal pitfalls? Like, what do you need to be aware of, and how can you use them in a manner that is not only beneficial, but legally sound, meaning you're hopefully not going to be sued, hopefully not going to run into problems where you have to rebrand or change the name of the company or the services or the product, or change the images that you're using because you use the tools in the right way. That's what we're going to be training you on. We're going to train you on how to identify what you should be entering, what you can enter, how to use the tools. But then separate from that, what do you never want to do? Like, what are the things you have to make sure that you never do when using these tools? And then finally, do you have certain legal rights before you even use them? Like, maybe you have certain rights under copyright law. What most people don't even know is whether you file for a copyright or not, you have rights under copyright law. Same thing with trademarks. There's a thing called common law trademark rights. I'm going to be talking about that so people realize you have certain rights before you even file for anything. People don't realize this, and then they use these tools, putting their information into them. Well, the problem is that now your information just became publicly known to others as well. So how can you use these tools in a manner that's going to be beneficial to you, but doesn't result in you losing things? So we'll hit those issues. If you have a company, or even if you don't have a company, but you're using AI, or you think you're going to be using AI, join. You don't need to know anything about AI, guys. Like, this is not going to be one of my trainings where we go so deep you get lost. That's not going to happen. I'm going to explain what AI is, talk a little bit about a few of the tools, keep it basic, but there'll be some thick meat in this for those guys that are watching this going, yeah, I know all that, but I want to use Otter AI to transcribe the last video I did and come out with a nice summary and upload that into ChatGPT to give me the 5 hottest matters. All you tech guys out there know what I just talked about. And so some of the other people are going, what? Videos upload? What do you mean? That's okay. We're going to be able to appeal to all of you. So it's 2 hours. It's only, I think, $47. I mean, I bill at $600 an hour. So that's $1,200 worth of value within $47. I'm just doing this. Basically, the cost is to cover the ads. That's really it. Just to help people out.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to sign up and definitely join that. So I'm laughing to myself as you're talking about that example you gave about Otter AI and then getting the summary. It's exactly what I've been using AI for. I've been plugging in transcripts,
right? Wow.
Plugging in transcripts of my YouTube videos and asking it to summarize and write the description for me. Because sometimes my YouTube videos I go super wide breadth, and it's like how do I summarize this into points that someone, or particularly search engines, would find salient in a short amount of time for a YouTube video description. So while I've not used it and I never plan to use it to write emails for me, I do use it for things like video descriptions. So I think this is the perfect time to kind of shift gears a little bit. And since you have this long history in intellectual property, and you have run an intellectual property law firm, and I have been teaching people for so long. Let's shift back a little bit away from the AI side, just kind of put on the IP hat in general. And I want to ask you, what is the biggest misconception that you think that the public has about intellectual property in general?
That's a great question. I'd say probably the biggest misconception is that you don't have any legal rights unless you file something. I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions. People believe the only way that I get legal rights is I file a copyright with the Copyright Office, or I file a trademark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, or some government entity in another country. There's certain legal rights that you automatically have. Now, if you want to enforce your copyright, you've got to file something. So if you want to be able to legally enforce it, you've got to file something. But the second that you actually create something, when it's in a fixed, tangible form, as an example, if you take a picture, the second that picture is rendered, there's copyrights associated with it immediately. Whether you file that at copyright.gov or not for $65 online or not, you automatically have certain rights. Separately, if you've been using a certain name for your products or services, under common law trademark rights, you have rights to that name. It's only in the specific geographical region where you're using it in interstate commerce, and that's kind of technical legal language. Basically, it's saying where you're actually using it for going back and forth in sales or in marketing. You only own it in that specific geographical region. That's usually like a town versus a whole state. But that you have that right, even though you didn't file something. I mean, even though you didn't file with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, you already have those legal rights. So that's on your side. But then there's another side. That means there's other people that have those legal rights already. So when you're using certain tools that are out there, you have to think about this, that if I'm walking in a restaurant and there's a painting on the wall and I take a picture of that thing, that's called copyright infringement. People don't realize that. They think, oh, well, I saw the picture. Now I take a picture. I see the painting. I take a picture. I go to the corner store and I say, make me a 2x3, 2 foot by 3 foot, rendering that I can frame. That's copyright infringement. So that means the original owner had certain legal rights. So it's important to realize that there's certain legal rights whether or not you file. So intellectual property is so ingrained in our everyday business that we don't actually know it, because most people who are IP attorneys, and there's not a tremendous number of us when you compare them to all other fields of lawyers, it's a very small number that are IP lawyers, especially that cover patent law as well. There's not a lot of us that are going out there telling people this stuff, because the way lawyers work is they bill per hour. Right? That's usually how lawyers are compensated. They don't sell products. Like I could sell 1,000 units on eBay in a minute. I can only bill 1 minute in a minute as a lawyer if I'm going to do that legally, right? So I can only bill for 1 minute in that minute, right? Yeah. So there's only 24 hours in a day. So how much of that time are lawyers going to be spending doing this, training others? So that's why that knowledge is missing. But that's why we're trying to fix that by doing this now. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. And I appreciate that explanation. From my own personal experience, I didn't really start to take intellectual property seriously until a couple of years ago when I started creating content and putting it out on the internet, and also participating in communities of other creators who were creating content and putting it out, and watching them have their content be stolen and remarketed and repurposed and rebranded and all this type of stuff. And it really, just watching their experiences, it really made me become much more aware of it. I also had an experience where I visited the Google headquarters in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I was there on behalf of a health information company. And we were doing a service for the employees of Google. And I noticed there was a software app that they had to log into to do some things with this health insurance company. This is a service that Google had contracted us to come in and offer them. And I noticed when I walked around the room, there's a bunch of laptops set up for them to sit down and enter their information. When I walked around the room, every single Google employee in the room was reading line by line the terms and conditions before inputting any information into this software package that their employer had paid us to come and offer them. They didn't care. They wanted to read. They wanted to understand exactly what they were giving away and what the rules were around it. And that experience stood out to me. I was like, these guys know, because they literally, they work in the industry. They know. And ever since that moment, I've taken it so much more seriously. And now when I started uploading to YouTube, and I had to join their partner program and sign over to be monetized on my videos and things like that, I was reading through the terms and conditions. I'm not going to say I understood them, but I was reading through them, trying to understand them, right? And so it really has become quite a journey. And there's still some, I still hear stories all the time, and I'm bringing this up for the next point here that I want to ask you about. I still hear stories all the time about creators, particularly on Instagram, who create a sculpture or a even like a 3D printed design, or like a planter, right? Like you see, I have this there we go, 3D printed planter over here in a dodecahedron shape, right? It's like things like that, and then they put it out on their Instagram to sell it. And then people see that and they're like, oh, that's a great idea. Let me make the same thing, but price it at a lower price. And they end up getting undercut, and in some cases, even run out of the marketplace. So as an IP attorney, what is your perspective on that?
Yeah, so I'm a litigator as well. And so not only am I a prosecutor, meaning like patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, been doing that for 25 years, but I'm also a litigator in federal district court. And this is such a big issue. I had a really good friend of mine who's a tremendous artist, rendered a painting at a conference, a big conference, thousands and thousands of people. That painting was going up for auction, right, for thousands of dollars. I happened to buy that painting, but then she realized that her painting was all over the internet, and that people were actually taking that painting and then going to the corner store and creating an actual image to be framed. So just think of the amount of money that she lost, because what she would typically do is make money on the prints. And so, it might be a $35 print, a $150 print, a $500 print as a copy of the original, where I have the original literally right there on my wall. Like, that image is everywhere. It's literally everywhere. Well, the same thing happens on the internet. Somebody has some kind of creation that they did, some kind of paint, some kind of either computer animated work, or they have some kind of, let's say, painting or picture or whatever it is. They upload it into Midjourney as an example. And then what they don't realize is they never read the terms and conditions. They never look to find out, well, what exactly happens to what I enter into this program? Well, here's the thing, guys. Artificial intelligence, it learns by what you enter, right? And it uses that to provide new results. So if you upload an image of a cat and you identify it as a cat, then now when somebody else says, hey, here's a chair, I want a cat to be placed on that chair, it may pull your image of the cat and place it on their chair. So now your picture, which arguably is protectable under copyright law, it is protectable under copyright law, they now have your copyrighted image on their image. And now they take their image and they go forward using their image, and you're wondering, how did my cat end up on their couch? I mean, that's the way this world works, is that you need to know, somebody needs to read these terms and conditions, which I've been doing, to figure out exactly what kind of rights am I giving to the party who is running this AI platform or bot. What exactly is happening here? Like, is it remaining confidential, or is it a situation that this is now publicly available or public domain? And AI works by, it's a neural network. It learns by continuing to scrape data and gain from what you enter into it, and then even take the results of what you have to render better results for others, right? That's the beauty of it. That's the attractive feature of it. But what people don't realize is, if I'm putting in my own stuff and I don't want other people to have it, how can I stop that from happening? There's certain ways to do that, but separate from that, if you're not doing that, your stuff is just, other people can use it and you can't stop them.
Okay.
It's really painful. I mean, you can go and try to sue them. Like you can literally send them a cease and desist letter and say, hey, that's a picture of my son, that is now, on the beach, for your ad to say, come to Maui. Like, my son's now in your picture there. Like, you can't do that. And they say, well, I use Midjourney. And they say, yeah, but that's my image. Well, the problem is you uploaded your own private image, which went into a public network. And now the public is using your private image to create something for financial gain. So you need to figure out, how can I stop this? What can I do? And that's why those terms and conditions are so important, because I'm seeing these issues as a litigator. I'm seeing these issues every week. People saying, well, I'll give you one example of just copyright infringement. Had an individual who was running a company for creating websites, wanted to stop people from going to his website, copying it, and creating their own websites. So I said, well, let's file copyright for your entire website, every single page. We did. Anybody who copied his website, anything from his website, we sent a cease and desist letter and asked for $2,500. They immediately forked up the money and stopped, because they realized under copyright law, we owned the content and there's nothing they could do about it. Well, it's the same thing for the images that you're uploading. It's the same thing for the books, the poems, the slogans under trademark law. It's all IP. It's all protectable. So you need to understand, how can I use them in a way that is beneficial, but I'm careful. I'm careful to make sure I don't get in trouble.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely helpful to have a seasoned guide to help you navigate these waters. And I think this workshop is a great start for that. And I know you have some other offerings coming up as well, including a rerun of the class that I took that helped me file my first trademark. I think you've got that coming up, but I want to bring you back on and have another conversation with you about that one in particular. So we'll save that for next time. Thank you so much, Peter. I think that's helpful, and I appreciate your insights into these interesting developments. And I look forward to bringing you on again for another conversation.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Josiah. I'm glad to be able to help out any way I can. So the more people we can make aware of this, I think the better. These are great tools. We just want to be able to use them properly.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed that little interview that I had there with Peter, and I'm definitely looking forward to the workshop that will be taking place as well. If you would like to register for the workshop, I did leave a link for that in the description of this video. But really, I want to know what you think. Are you using generative AI to create content? Are you an artist, creator, an illustrator, graphic designer? Are you a writer, a blogger, marketer? What are you doing and how are you using AI? Leave me a comment below the video. And if you have any questions for Peter, I will be bringing him back on and having another conversation with him. So if there's something that you would like me to ask him, write that in a comment down below as well. Until next time, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and imagine wisely. I'll see you again soon.